was the last week and a bit. So obviously pleased that you made back over for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always, as long as the shoulder came good, I was always going to head back over, and I was pretty confident that it would. And yeah, everything sort of went to plan as best it could. So yeah, it was a good couple of weeks, and to get the chocolates there at the IPL was another amazing experience. The final, anytime you play at that ground and it's close to a full crowd, it's pretty cool.
Josh, you're going to have a full session today, and bowl your full amount of overs?
I think probably more so tomorrow. Today's sort of, again, post-flight, just to get moving. And yeah, probably nail down a few more overs tomorrow. So yeah, over the next few days, tick a lot of boxes. And I feel like the last 2 weeks anyway have been, quite good. Got a lot of overs in match intensity as well, in and around training. So it's been a good couple of weeks.
Has the extended or delayed finish to the IPL changed how many big bowls you'll have before the final? Like, if it had been traditionally on the schedule, would you have had another big session or two with them?
No, probably not. It was just a matter of where it was happening, I guess. Ticked over some good overs just before the final, actually, in Ahmedabad, in different weather than this. So it was quite a tough session. And then obviously every time you play a game in IPL, you're probably going to get, almost 7 or 8 overs in, if you really want to. So, in and around with warm-ups and obviously the 4 overs in the game. So, and we bowled second a lot of the time in IPL. So it was sort of 2 warm-ups. So you can squeeze in overs here and there, and things are going pretty well.
So you did a few extra red ball sessions in India under the guidance of CA, did you?
No, it wasn't red ball. It was basically just at training with white ball at RCB, and you're working on your things that you're going to implement in T20 really. And for me, it doesn't really change a great deal anyway. We're going to have enough time here with red ball to get back in the swing of things and hit those lengths that you need to hit.
I mean, you're so used to transitioning from format to format now, Josh. Are there things that you want to take off in the next 2 sessions you'll have before you get to Worlds?
Yeah, it's probably just pushing that length a touch fuller. I think, in the IPL games, I was probably hitting around that 7 to 9 metres almost in the power play, and not really threatening the stumps as much as you want to in Test match cricket in particular, probably here in England. So it'll just be about pushing that length a touch fuller and sort of still getting that zip through to the keeper. So yeah, things like that. It's not much of a difference. It's just that feel out of the hands and pushing a touch fuller.
And just looking at, say, the next 12, 18 months, there's a lot of test cricket coming up. So are you just taking one test at a time, or are you looking at how much you have to play and where the body is at and where you are in your career as well?
I think it's game by game, really. Anytime you look forward too far in this game, things catch up with you pretty quick. In particular, with it being a final, it's all about this week and, putting in a good performance over the next few days initially, and then into the game. And, whatever happens after that, we'll address that when we get to it.
Having narrowly missed out on the 11th 2 years ago at the Oval, does this feel like one of the missing pieces in your career?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I was obviously quite close last time. I just had more of an interrupted IPL leading into that and had a few little issues going on. So wasn't quite up to scratch, but I feel in a much better place this time around. And I think in any format, my numbers over the last 2 years have been pretty good. So got a lot to fall back on, I guess, in terms of skill-wise. I still feel like I'm bowling probably the best I have in my career, to be honest. And yeah, it's just a matter of the body holding up, which it has been in the last few months, and getting some good overs in albeit T20 cricket, but big sessions in and around that. So everything's feeling good.
Have you, those couple of times over recent summers where you have had injuries, have you identified any kind of maybe common denominator as to kind of why that may have been occurring in, often in first tests?
Yeah, it's obviously been the side quite a number of times. I think maybe 3 times in particular. Been a little bit proactive in this time, and probably another time when we were here in England as well with getting things sorted. It's obviously just that the jump up, not only intensity but just in workload in that first test match, as opposed to T20 one-day cricket. But I guess it's all about that 4-week chronic load, 10-week chronic load that we always talk about to get the numbers right. And I think intensity is probably a big one for me to tick that box. So yeah, we're definitely, I guess, and again, adapting training to sort of get those back-to-back days in, get a big day followed by another bowling session the day after, and things like that, just to try and get our head around it and put ourselves in the best possible position we can be.
And that's been a big focus of yours through the IPL, as well as trying to do what you're doing on the field.
Yep.
For RCB, you're working towards this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a number of times where I bowled back-to-back days, again, at high intensity, with the game being one of those usually. So, yeah, just dicing up training a little bit differently, just dicing up the bowling workloads a little bit differently, and, yeah, hopefully get a different result.
You had a close eye on the bowlers yesterday at training, and they're looking pretty sharp at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, everyone's looks in good shape. There's a few guys, we've all been in different parts of the world playing or training over the last couple of months, so it's good to get everyone together and catch up with everyone yesterday and the day before and get all on the same page moving forward.
Do you feel, looking at that South African batting lineup, that they're quite inexperienced, I suppose, to South African batting lineups you would have faced in the past? Do you know much about these guys, and do you feel like you can?
Yeah, I think we obviously played them a couple of years ago in Australia. They came down for a few test matches, and there's still a few similar players there. There's been a couple other ones come in, and we've noticed, obviously played against Stubbs in the IPL. A few of the guys are there, Rickleton, and obviously we know the bowlers quite well. So we'll dive deeper into that in the next few days and as a bowling group and come up with some plans.
Do you think that their history in World Cups of falling short is a factor? Is coming into this match the fact that Australia has won so many and South Africa are yet to climb that mountain?
I think being with a different format, it might be a little bit different mentality. I think a lot of the players are potentially white ball players who have been in those positions and I guess haven't really been a test final, so to speak, for this group. So there's quite a few different players and maybe not have the baggage that a few of the white ball players have. But yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask them, I'd say.
You mentioned workload and intensity in terms of yourself, in terms of being able to back up and spells. How important is that role of the all-rounder? Australia's generally had one in the last couple, Greeny, Mitch, and then Bow in the last few test matches. How much does that help you personally, but also the pace attack collective to have that extra plus?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I remember back to when we didn't have one for, I think it was probably, almost 20 odd test matches, and it was brutal. It was tough work. I feel like you just continually bowling, like you're almost just following the next guy at the other end, and then you're switching ends, and then Gazza from one end, and we all rotate from one end. So to have that bowler, even to be honest, Travis and Marnus, it only has to be a couple of overs here and there just to give you that extra break to then be fresher for whether it be the second new ball or the next day or later on in the series. It just sort of snowballs if you don't have that all-rounder and you're just continually bowling, and I guess, you're not going to be at your best later in the day or the next day and so forth. So, yeah, it's always important, I think.
Your record and Australia's record is pretty formidable at Lords. Is that something working in your favour?
I think anytime I bowl in England, I'm reasonably confident. I've had some good tours here over the last 10 years, and Lords in particular, we've always haven't lost at Lords yet as a player, I don't think, in red ball for sure. So a couple of good wins there over the years, and always gives you confidence, I think.